Hey guys, Mamie Carson here with WhenJoyIsSkip.com. I'm so glad to be back making another video. It's been a hot minute since I've made a video here on YouTube. I have been busy posting on Instagram, so I am back today to make a card process video for you guys, and I'm using my Tombow dual brush markers here to do some loose watercoloring. This is the Avery Elle Floral Bouquet, and I love it. I think it's perfect for beginners, and it can even be used for more advanced techniques as well. But the technique I'm doing is just loose watercoloring, where I take my marker and scribble it onto this little handmade palette there, and I'm going to pick that color up with my water brush. This is my favorite water brush. It's very thin and it does really good detailing to create the loose watercolor effect. Obviously, you're going to want to use watercolor paper. And I'm going to do this technique with heat embossing. And so I have there a little embossing buddy bag, and I just go over the watercolor paper. And what that does is helps for all of the embossing powder to stay in place, and so you don't have stray powder all over your scene or your project that you're working on rather. And what you want to use is some VersaMark. I always do that. It's like VersaFine or VersaMark, and I always say it wrong, and it's always the other one. So I'm using my VersaMark, and it's just a sticky ink that you can use to do your heat embossing. And so I'm going to be creating like a whole repetitive pattern on this background here using just the single stamps from the image. I'm not using the bouquet today, but I have used the bouquet, and I love that one as well. But for the project today, I'm just using the loose stamps that come in the set, which is great, just showing you that you can use all of the elements of the stamp set to create all kinds of fun different designs. And so I'm taking that VersaMark, and it's a clear sticky ink, and I'm just stamping the largest stamp first, because that kind of helps with the layout so that you know where things will be able to fit. And so your smaller elements can go in last, and you're able to fit those in nicely. And I'm just using some white embossing powder there, and I just kind of go over it a few times. I'll stamp some images, and then I'll put some of that powder on, because it helps me be able to see where I have already stamped, so that I don't overstamp or put some of the stamps too close together. And so you're going to want to do that if you want it to stay nice and separated and not have just a big mess all over your card. So after you have everything stamped, you're going to use your heat tool and get it nice and hot before you bring it to the paper, because you don't want to burn the paper, and you don't want to burn the powder. So as soon as it gets shiny, the image that you're heating, as soon as it gets shiny, then you know it's ready and move on to the next image. And that kind of helps you from burning your embossing powder. And so now I'm going to jump right into the watercoloring, and I have sped up some parts of the video and left some parts a little bit slower. I wanted to include the majority of the coloring, because I know that people really appreciate seeing more than just one or two of the images being colored, especially for beginners. But I did speed it up for those people that enjoy the coloring, but they already know how to do it, and they just want to sit and relax and watch somebody else color. I know I love to do that, just get on YouTube and watch somebody color. I don't know what it is. It gets me inspired too, so whenever I'm watching a YouTube video, then I'll want to get up and go do some coloring or try out some technique that they did as well. And so I just decided to leave most of that in. And this is really loose watercoloring, but I think the end result was really, really beautiful. And so the way that I kind of got this look here with the watercolor paper that I'm using, it really seemed to soak in that water. I usually use a different kind of watercolor paper, so you want to test every watercolor paper that you have first and kind of see how it's going to react with the water and the color. And this one seemed to really soak up that water, which means that it didn't let the watercolor move a lot, which actually I liked for this kind of technique, because I liked having it a little bit splotchy, a little bit loose looking. So what I would do is I would first go in with just some clear water and go over the image that I wanted to paint for that section. So I would layer it with a bit of water, then I would go in with one of my lighter colors, which I use 3 colors for this watercoloring. So I'm going in here, you see I put some water, and then I went in with my lightest color and just gave it a wash of color. And then I would go in with my darker colors. I have 3 colors, like I said, so I'd go in with the medium tone and just kind of go in and add some color here and there. I would add like a shading on the side of one petal. So I would give like a line on the side of one petal, and then for the rest of the flower, I would kind of just move that color around with some clean, clear water. So, and then I would take my darkest color and just go in and darken up the shadow area and then move that color around just a little bit with some clean, clear water. So it gives you this nice variation of color where it has really light areas and really dark areas. And I really liked it for the look of this card. So I'm just doing the same thing, like I said again, where I'm going in and wetting the area first, then I'm coming in with the color and pulling that color out a little bit, making a little bit more of a shadow on one side of the petal, and then dragging that color out just a bit with some water. And then I would go in after I did the initial wash and add that darkest color in at the very end there and pull that last color out with a little bit of water as well. And so that gives you really nice contrast, which looks really good against this white. Now it's really hard for me to see, so this is really hard for me to kind of sit back and let the video kind of let you see everything that's going on in the video while I kind of sit back and watercolor. So I usually like to have my head right above it because I cannot see it for the life of me because it's so light, because the white on white just makes it really hard for me to see what I'm doing. But most people don't seem to have a problem with it. And if you're having a hard time doing it this way, you can always use like a lighter embossing powder, like maybe a light gray or some other colors that you might use that help it where you can see a little bit better if you are like me and you can't see very well. But I just used white because I don't have like a whole variety of different colors. I sometimes use gold, but I really wanted to go with a lighter color for this background here. And so now I am filling in the little leaves that I put in as well. And I have just 2 different color greens and just super messy with this too. I'd go in and I would put the lighter color first, then I would put the darker color and then pull all that out with a little bit of water. And it's very, very simple. I don't know if I'm explaining it in a way that makes sense to you, and you can always go back in and add a little bit of darker color where you feel like you need it. But I really encourage you to keep it light and use that water to spread it around a little bit so that it doesn't get too dark and lose that contrast. It really makes it pop. And so here I am filling in, there's like these little round ball kind of things that are in there as well. And so I'm going in and adding some color to that. But I'm going to go over it whenever I'm filling in the background here, so since it's blue as well, it doesn't really matter if you go right over it. It's not going to bother anything. And sorry if my head gets in the way and my hair is just a super duper mess. It's really just crazy right now all over the place, so please excuse my hair. You know, us crafters, we don't care too much about how we look. We just want to get in there and create. So I'm doing the backwash here of the scene or the pattern paper that I'm creating here, the pattern background scene. And I'm just taking this blue and really lightening it with a lot of water. And that will give you a wash. And that's why I say wash, because it's majority water and a little bit of the color in there. And so I'm going around all the flowers, and this will really help the flowers pop off the page, so that it's not white on white on white and you can't really see the petals and everything. And you could even go in and add even a little bit darker blue around the flowers to make them pop even more, or even a gray, and then that would really give it a nice 3D effect. But I'm just keeping it really simple here because I am going to be layering on top of the card with some other elements, and so it wasn't really that big of a deal. But if I was going to use this as the showstopper, then I would probably go around each flower on the outside and add a little bit of shading just to really bring those flowers to make them look 3D. Also here on the left, I went ahead and did a few of the singular flowers on some scrap watercolor paper because I'm going to use those elements around my sentiment to kind of build the card. I also have some gel pens here that I'm using to fill in the little, what is it called? The stamen? I don't know. It's been 20 years since I've been in high school, so I don't remember what those are called. So anyway, I'm using my gel pen to fill those in, and now I'm going to use my Tombow marker here to fill in those little round floral flourishes there, and just really help those stand out against that blue, because it is blue on blue. And then I am going to cut out these little singular images here so that I'll be able to layer it up on my card project. So I've got some dies here, and this is the Gina Marie scallop stitched frames. I love these oval frames. I use them for everything. They're fantastic, and there's a lot of companies that make this style, but I find myself coming to it again and again. So I will list all of the items that I've used down below in the description area, and so you can go to a store and pick them up for yourself if you're interested in any of the products. And if I can't find a product, I'll list one that's similar or give you some other ideas. But for the most part, I only have to do that for 1 or 2 items sometimes. So here I'm using my mini Misty because I want to make sure that I get the placement right here on this little sentiment, because I don't want to have to do that over and over again. So I'm just going to use my Misty. That way I know exactly where it's going, and I can double stamp it if I want it to darken up a little bit. I wanted to keep the scene a little bit lighter, so with the sentiment here I'm using like a dark gray instead of black. So that just kind of helps keep the whole image of the card a little more soft. So I also used my Simon Says stamp stitched rectangles to cut out around the border of the card also. And now I'm using some green twine here. It's green and white twine, and I'm going to wrap that around the card. This is just going to add a little bit of interest to the card, and I'm going to secure it in the back with some washi tape. And I'm also going to create a little bow here to go on the side of the sentiment element that I've created. And I'll be able to start putting my card together. This is a really easy project, and I think it really turned out so nice. I really, really loved it. I actually did the same project a few times because I just thought, wow, this is just such a great card to give someone, and it can kind of be for, you know, really anything, just a anything card. So I really love this project and this stamp set from Avery Elle, and I am so excited to have something that I can use again and again, because you guys know I love versatile dies, stamps, just anything that I can use in a bunch of different ways. So now I'm building up my scene here, and I have put some foam tape behind the sentiment element, and then I'm also putting some foam tape behind some of the flowers so that they can kind of pop up along with the sentiment. So I'm putting a little bit of glue and then a little bit of foam tape to give some height to the back of the flower where it needs it to go against the background, but then also some glue to hold it in place right there on the sentiment element that I created. So the leaves are going into place now. And there's really not a whole lot left to do. You can embellish it any way that you would like. I did end up using my crystal clear Pretty Pink Posh sequins on this card, and I love that sequins because it doesn't take away from the card. It just adds something really special without taking away from, you know, without distracting too much. But it also adds like a little bit of shine that I really love. And so that's basically the card for today. And like I said, I love this project, and thank you guys so much for joining me. I know I've been out for a little bit, but I'm so excited to be back and sharing some videos with you guys. Please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It's so important for us smaller channels. And also check out my Instagram, because I have tons of of card projects that I put on my Instagram that I don't have time to film, etc., etc. And so I put them just on Instagram and also on Facebook. I'll have all that stuff kind of listed down below so that you can find me. And thank you guys once again, and I will see you guys in the next video.